The night was endless above the planet Nereth. Stars burned like cold fire in the distance while a broken transport ship tore through the sky like a dying meteor. Inside, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across cracked glass and twisted metal. Commander Ryan Hale opened his eyes to chaos. Smoke filled the cockpit, and his breath came out in short gasps. He could smell fire, oil, and blood. The ship was dying, and so was everything inside it. He tried to move, but his seat harness was locked tight. Sparks danced from broken wires above his head. Ryan grabbed a jagged piece of metal and cut the strap, falling hard onto the tilted floor. The crash had thrown everything out of order. The co-pilot's chair was empty, only a burnt helmet remained. Ryan's vision blurred, but his mind stayed sharp. Training kicked in. Survive first, panic later, he muttered to himself. The engines were silent now. Only the sound of wind and distant thunder filled the air. The planet outside was dark, covered in fog and shadows. He reached for the comms panel, but it was dead. No signal. No rescue. Just him and the unknown. He pushed open the emergency hatch, the metal groaning in protest. Cold air rushed in, carrying a strange smell, not smoke, not ash, but something alive. The jungle outside was glowing faintly blue, the trees tall and covered in moss that pulsed with light. Ryan stepped out carefully, his boots crunching over alien soil. Pieces of the ship lay scattered like bones. His breath made white clouds in the cold. Then he heard it, a deep growl that came from somewhere beyond the wreckage. He froze. The sound wasn't close, but it was powerful. Something big was out there. His training told him to move back inside, find a weapon, find shelter. But curiosity pulled him forward. The growl came again, this time followed by the sound of heavy steps moving through the fog. He crouched behind a broken wing and watched. 2 yellow lights appeared in the mist, moving slowly, side to side, as if searching. Eyes. The creature was watching him. Ryan's heart started beating faster, but he stayed still. He reached for the emergency flare gun on his belt. The fog parted slightly, and he saw a tall shadow, maybe 3 meters high. The shape was thick, armored, and breathing heavy. Then it spoke, the voice low and rough, like metal grinding on stone. You should be afraid, human. The words were broken but clear. Ryan's mind raced. It spoke English. That meant intelligence. That meant danger. But instead of fear, he felt something else, anger. He stood up slowly, facing the glowing eyes. His voice was calm, almost cold. Fear is what hunts you, he said. The beast made a noise that sounded like laughter, deep and mocking. Ryan fired the flare gun. The red light shot into the air, lighting up the whole clearing. For a brief moment, he saw the creature fully. Its skin looked like black armor fused with muscle, long claws curving from its hands, and a jaw full of teeth that shined under the red glow. Then the flare faded, and the night swallowed everything again. Silence returned, but the air felt heavier. Ryan stepped backward toward the wreck, keeping his eyes on the dark. He could hear movement, fast and circling. He picked up a metal rod from the ground, the closest thing to a weapon he had. Come on, he whispered to himself, ready to fight. Suddenly, the beast roared, loud enough to shake the trees. Birds or something like them flew up into the sky, screaming. Ryan braced himself, heart pounding, muscles tight. The roar grew closer. He turned and ran back into the wreckage, sliding behind a half-broken door. The ground trembled as something massive hit the ship's hull. The metal bent inward, screeching under pressure. Ryan moved deeper inside, his flashlight flickering weakly. Every sound echoed, the crunch of glass under his boots, the hiss of fire, the beast's heavy breathing outside. He found the cargo bay and pulled open a crate. Inside were broken tools and a half-damaged plasma cutter. He tested it. It still worked. A weak blue flame appeared at the tip. Better than nothing. He crouched near the wall, breathing slowly, waiting. The noises outside stopped. Total silence. He turned off the light, listening. A moment later, a low whisper came through the torn metal, right beside him. Fear. Ryan froze. The voice was right there. It makes you weak. He turned on the plasma cutter and slashed the wall, light bursting through smoke. Nothing was there. The whisper moved to the other side. Run, human. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Not tonight, he said under his breath. He kicked open the rear door and jumped out into the fog. The ground was wet, slippery with mud and oil. He could hear the beast's footsteps behind him, heavy and fast. He sprinted through the jungle, the light from the burning ship fading behind him. Every tree looked alive, every shadow moved. He could feel the planet breathing around him. Then he saw a cliff ahead, sharp and steep. He stopped just before the edge, looking down at the deep darkness below. Behind him, the footsteps stopped too. The beast stood in the mist, only its eyes visible. Nowhere to run, it growled. Ryan turned around slowly, breathing hard but not afraid. He raised the plasma cutter, the weak blue flame trembling in his hand. I told you, he said quietly. Fear doesn't hunt me. The creature growled louder, then charged. Ryan shouted and swung the cutter, and everything went black. The jungle echoed with the sound of fire, thunder, and the final growl of the beast. The hunt had begun. Ryan woke up to the sound of dripping water and distant thunder. His body ached all over, his head spinning from the fall. The air around him was heavy and cold, filled with the scent of wet soil and burnt metal. When he opened his eyes, he realized he was lying in the middle of a glowing forest. The trees rose high above him, their leaves shining faint blue under the alien sky. Strange vines hung low, moving slightly even when there was no wind. He pushed himself up, his muscles stiff, and looked around. His ship was gone, or maybe too far to see through the fog. He checked his arm, small cuts, bruises, nothing serious. The plasma cutter was missing. His only weapon was gone. He looked down and saw tracks in the mud, his own boots and something else. Heavy, clawed footprints surrounded him. He wasn't alone. Ryan stood up quietly and listened. The forest had a rhythm, the hum of insects, the whisper of leaves, and underneath it all, a faint growl echoing far away. He knew that sound now. The beast was still hunting. He moved slowly, avoiding dry branches that might crack under his boots. Every few steps, he stopped and looked back. No eyes, no movement, but he could feel the weight of something watching. He found a small stream and followed it downhill, hoping it would lead to open ground. The water was cold and clear, reflecting the strange blue glow from the trees. As he walked, he saw bones scattered near the edge, not animal bones, not quite human either. Some were small, some huge, all stripped clean. The sight made his stomach twist. Whatever lived here hunted often. He crouched beside a skull, brushing off the dirt. The jaw was long, the teeth sharp. Alien. He took a deep breath and kept moving. After a while, he found a piece of wreckage, a broken wing panel from the ship. He smiled faintly. That meant he was close to the crash site again. Maybe there were supplies nearby. He searched the wreck and found a metal shard long enough to use as a blade. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. He tied it to a stick with torn fabric from his uniform, creating a makeshift spear. As he worked, he heard a faint whisper through the trees, almost like breathing. Then came the growl, low and close. Ryan froze, eyes scanning the mist. The air turned colder. He crouched and waited, gripping his weapon tight. The fog shifted, and for a second, he saw a dark shadow moving between the trees, huge, fast, silent. He could hear its claws scrape the rocks as it circled him. Ryan's heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. Fear would only make him a target. He moved slowly toward a cluster of fallen trees, trying to get higher ground. The creature moved again, closer this time, heavy steps pressing into the wet ground. You can run, it growled, voice deep and amused. It makes the taste better. Ryan clenched his jaw. It was playing with him. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a game. He glanced around, thinking fast. The fallen trees gave him an idea. He began setting small traps using sharp branches, tying them with vine roots. Primitive, but effective. He smeared mud on his face to hide the heat of his skin, remembering the old training drills. He moved quickly, quietly, setting bait. A piece of cloth torn from his uniform hung on a stick. Then he backed away into the fog, waiting. Minutes passed. The forest went silent. Then he heard it, the crunch of footsteps stepping into the trap zone. A low growl turned into a snarl. The The creature had seen the cloth. It stepped closer. Ryan could hear the air moving around its body, feel the vibration of its growl in his chest. He waited for the perfect moment. When the beast bent forward, Ryan yanked a vine. The sharp branches swung down from above, scraping against its shoulder. It roared in pain, the sound shaking the trees. Ryan ran forward and stabbed with the spear, hitting solid armor. The impact sent a shock through his arms. The beast turned, faster than anything he'd ever seen, and swung a claw. Ryan jumped back, barely dodging. The claws cut through a tree like paper. He rolled to the side, grabbed another branch, and threw it as a distraction. The beast smashed it aside, its red eyes glowing brighter in the fog. It was angry now. Ryan knew he couldn't win in a straight fight. He needed to retreat and find better ground. He sprinted toward the stream, his boots splashing in the water. The growl followed him, closer, louder. He looked back, the creature was chasing him on all fours, tearing through trees, moving like a shadow of death. Ryan jumped over rocks, ducked under vines, and slid down a slope into a small cave. He pressed his back against the wall, breathing hard. The creature stopped outside. Silence again. Only the sound of water dripping from the ceiling. Ryan held his breath. Minutes passed. Nothing moved. Then, from the cave's darkness behind him, a hand touched his shoulder. He spun around, ready to strike, but stopped. It was a woman, pale, bruised, wearing a torn uniform with the same insignia as his. Her eyes were wide, but alive. "Don't," she whispered. "It can hear us." Ryan lowered his weapon slowly. "Who are you?" She hesitated. "Lieutenant Arya. I was part of your crew." He blinked, confused. "I thought I was the only one." She shook her head. "No. I've been hiding for 2 days. That thing, it hunts by fear. It smells it." Ryan frowned. "Smells fear?" She nodded. "The more afraid you are, the stronger it becomes." Her voice trembled. "It enjoys it." Ryan looked toward the cave entrance, where faint red light flickered through the fog. "Then we give it what it wants," he said. Arya's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" He smiled slightly, a cold and fearless smile. "We use fear to hunt the hunter." Outside, the growl came again, long, deep, and hungry. The creature was close. Ryan gripped his weapon tighter and whispered, "Let's begin." The jungle answered with silence. The first hunt had truly begun. The cave was dark and cold, but Ryan and Arya stayed silent, their breathing slow and careful. Outside, the fog glowed faintly blue, and the forest whispered with strange sounds that felt alive. The beast was out there, circling, listening. Every few minutes they could hear the crunch of its claws against the wet ground, a reminder that it was waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Ryan leaned against the stone wall, thinking. He had survived crashes, battles, and alien ambushes, but this was different. The Varnock, as Arya had called it, was not just an animal. It was something made, a creation with purpose. He glanced at Arya. She was tired, eyes sunken, her uniform torn and stained. But there was something sharp in her gaze, survival. "Tell me what you know," Ryan whispered. Arya hesitated, then spoke softly. "It was part of Project Varnock, a human experiment. They wanted to make the perfect predator. A weapon that could sense fear, track emotion, and adapt. But it escaped before the project ended." Ryan frowned, his jaw tightening. "You're saying this thing was made by humans?" She nodded. "Yes. The scientists on board were studying its biology. That's why we were transporting it. But it broke containment during the crash." Ryan remembered the strange security codes in the ship's logs, the sealed cargo he was never allowed to inspect. Now it made sense. The crash hadn't been random, maybe it was planned. Maybe the beast wanted it. "So it feeds on fear?" he asked quietly. Arya nodded again. "When you're afraid, your body releases chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol. It can smell that. It grows stronger from it, faster, smarter. That's why hiding won't work. It knows where you are the moment you start to panic." Ryan looked down at his hands. They were steady. He felt no fear, only focus. Then we'll turn fear against it. Arya frowned. How? By making it think we're scared, Ryan said. We'll use fear as bait. They spent the next few hours preparing. Ryan scavenged what he could, sharp rocks, metal scraps, and pieces of the ship's panel he had found earlier. Arya showed him a small power cell she had kept hidden from the wreck. It was damaged but could still generate a brief electric surge, enough to trigger an explosion if used right. Together they built traps, wiring the power cell to metal spikes and vines. It wasn't perfect, but it was deadly enough if timed right. The plan was simple: lure the Varnock into the open, fake a panic, make it chase them into the clearing where the traps were hidden, then ignite the charge. As they worked, Arya's hands trembled slightly. Ryan noticed but said nothing. You're afraid, he finally said. She looked up sharply. Of course I am. It killed our crew, Ryan. It tore them apart. Her voice cracked. And now it's hunting us. Ryan paused. Good, he said quietly. Use that fear. Just don't let it control you. She frowned. How do you stay so calm? Ryan looked toward the dark forest, his voice low. I've seen worse things than monsters. Fear only wins if you let it. Night fell again, bringing a strange silence to the jungle. The glowing trees dimmed, and the mist thickened. The air felt heavy, electric, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Ryan and Arya hid behind fallen rocks near the clearing, the traps ready. Remember, Ryan whispered, it can't smell what you don't feel. Breathe slow. Think of something calm. Arya nodded, closing her eyes. But then a sound cut through the silence, a slow, dragging breath. The creature was near. Two red eyes appeared in the fog, glowing like burning coals. The Varnock stepped forward, tall and powerful, its body shifting as if alive with moving armor. It turned its head slightly, listening. Ryan held his breath. Then the creature spoke. 2 hearts. 2 fears. Its voice was calm, deep, almost human now. Arya's eyes widened, and Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder, keeping her still. The beast stepped closer, sniffing the air. The woman trembles, it said. Arya's pulse raced. The Varnock smiled, its sharp teeth flashing. Good. I like the taste of hope before it dies. Ryan knew they had to move. He whispered, now, and threw a rock into the fog. The sound echoed, and the creature turned, roaring. Ryan jumped out, shouting, over here. The beast lunged toward him, fast and brutal. Ryan ran through the fog, his boots hitting the mud hard, every step planned. Behind him, Arya followed, pretending to panic. The Varnock laughed as it chased them. Run, little prey. Run. Its voice was full of hunger. Ryan led it straight into the clearing where the traps were set. He stopped near a large fallen log, panting loudly on purpose. The beast slowed, watching. Cornered, it growled. Just like the others. Ryan smirked. Come get me then. It roared and charged. The moment its foot hit the ground near the hidden wires, the trap activated. A surge of light exploded under its feet, followed by a blast of sound and dirt. The Varnock screamed, stumbling back, smoke rising from its armor. Ryan and Arya ducked behind the rocks as the explosion shook the ground. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then came the breathing, deep, angry, alive. Ryan peeked out and saw the creature still standing, wounded but not dead. Its armor cracked, but its eyes burned brighter. You hurt me, it said slowly, voice shaking with rage. Good. Ryan grabbed Arya's arm. Move. They ran back toward the cave, but before they reached it, a massive shadow cut them off. The Varnock had leapt over the trees, landing in front of them with a thunderous crash. Ryan raised his weapon, but the beast was too fast. It grabbed him by the chest and threw him into a tree. The impact knocked the air out of him. Arya screamed and tried to run, but the Varnock's tail swept her off her feet. She hit the ground hard. The creature leaned close to her, its hot breath steaming in the cold air. Fear, it whispered, smells sweet. Arya looked up, her eyes wide with terror. Before it could strike, Ryan shouted, Hey! And threw his makeshift spear. The weapon hit the creature's shoulder, sparks flying. It turned toward him, growling. You can't save her, it said. Ryan forced a weak smile. Watch me. The beast moved again, but then a strange noise came from deeper in the forest, a high-pitched shriek, mechanical and sharp. The Varnock stopped, its head turning. Ryan frowned. What is that? Arya whispered. The sound grew louder, echoing like metal scraping against metal. The Varnock hissed and stepped back into the shadows. Another hunt begins, it said, and vanished into the fog. Ryan helped Arya up, both breathing hard. What was that sound? She asked. Ryan stared into the darkness where the creature had gone. Something worse, he said. The jungle fell silent again, but this time, the silence felt alive, like something bigger had just awakened. The real hunt was only beginning. The forest was darker now, heavy with mist and the scent of smoke. The strange metallic shriek that had scared away the Varnock still echoed faintly in the distance. Ryan and Arya stood near the cave entrance, breathing hard, both covered in mud and sweat. The glowing trees flickered as if the entire jungle had gone silent to listen. Ryan scanned the fog, his weapon raised. It's gone, Arya whispered. For now, he replied, voice flat. He didn't trust silence. He had learned long ago that real danger always hides behind quiet. They moved cautiously through the forest, following the trail of crushed plants and claw marks. The Varnock's path was easy to see, but something else had moved here too, deeper prints, heavier, mechanical. The ground trembled under their feet from time to time, like something massive shifting far below. Ryan's instincts told him the hunt wasn't over, it had just changed. They reached a clearing where the fog lifted slightly. Burned trees and scattered debris covered the area. Pieces of the ship lay half buried in the dirt, black smoke curling upward. Ryan knelt beside a broken cargo pod. The markings on it were military, but not from his division. This wasn't part of our ship, he said quietly. Arya frowned. Then what is it? Ryan brushed off the dust from the surface, revealing a logo, a red triangle with a black serpent curling around it. Underneath it were the words, Varnock Division, Bioweapon Testing. He felt a chill crawl down his spine. They brought it here on purpose, he said. This planet, it's a testing ground. Arya stared at the wreckage, realization spreading across her face. They weren't just transporting it. They were releasing it. Before she could say more, a sudden sound cut through the air, a low growl, closer than before. Ryan turned fast, spear ready, but there was only fog. It's toying with us again, Arya whispered. Ryan's eyes narrowed. No, he said slowly. This feels different. The growl came again, followed by the crunch of metal. From the smoke, the Varnock appeared. This time, it didn't hide in the shadows. It stepped into the open, towering over them. Its body gleamed under the dim light, part flesh and part machine. Long, black armor plates covered its shoulders and arms, glowing veins of red light running across its chest. Its head was shaped like a skull, with ridged horns curling back, and its eyes burned like molten fire. The sight made Arya take a step back. God, she whispered. The beast looked at her, then at Ryan. You're still alive, it said, voice smoother now, less animal. Good. Fear makes the hunt boring when it ends too soon. Ryan didn't flinch. You talk too much. The beast tilted its head, curious. You're not afraid. I can smell it. You're different. It took a step closer, the ground shaking beneath its weight. Ryan raised his weapon. Stay back. The Varnock smiled, its teeth sharp and metallic. I remember you, it said softly. You were in the lab. Ryan froze. What did you say? You don't remember, the creature continued, circling slowly. They erased it from you. But I remember everything. Arya looked at Ryan, confused. What is it talking about? Ryan didn't answer. His mind was racing. You're lying, he said. The beast let out a low, rumbling laugh. Am I? You think you're just a soldier who crashed here? No, human. You're something more. You're mine. Without warning, the Varnock lunged forward. Ryan pushed Arya aside and rolled as the creature's claws tore through the ground where he had been standing. The impact sent a shockwave through the clearing. Ryan swung his weapon, but the beast caught it midair and crushed it in one hand. Arya fired her flare gun, the red light bursting against its chest, but it only roared louder. The heat from its body made the air shimmer. "Run!" Ryan shouted. Arya hesitated but then turned and sprinted toward the trees. The Varnock moved to follow her, but Ryan grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground and jammed it into the creature's leg joint. Sparks flew. The beast screamed in rage and backhanded him, sending him crashing into a tree. His vision blurred, blood running from his lip. Through the haze, he saw the Varnock leap after Arya, vanishing into the fog. "No," he growled, forcing himself up. Pain shot through his ribs, but he pushed forward. He followed the broken branches and footprints until he reached another clearing, this one filled with strange structures. Massive stone ruins rose from the ground, covered in alien markings that glowed faintly red. The air here felt different, charged with energy. In the center stood the Varnock, holding Arya by the throat. She struggled weakly, her face pale. "Stop!" Ryan shouted. The beast looked up, its eyes burning. "You should be afraid," it said. "She will die slow." Ryan took a step closer, ignoring the pain. "If you kill her, you lose your hunt." The Varnock paused. "What?" "You said you wanted a challenge," Ryan said. "You wanted something different. Let her go, and I'll give you what you really want." The creature tilted its head. "And what is that?" "Me," Ryan said. "No tricks, no traps. You and me." The Varnock studied him, then dropped Arya to the ground. She coughed and crawled away as the beast stepped closer. "You remind me of myself," it said. Ryan frowned. "I'm nothing like you." The Varnock smiled. "You are exactly like me." It reached out and pressed its clawed hand against a stone wall. The markings lit up, forming symbols that shifted and moved. A voice echoed through the ruins, mechanical, ancient, and human. "Project Varnock. Subject 7, Commander Ryan Hale. Genetic compatibility, 97%. Ryan's heart stopped. He stared at the wall in disbelief. His name was glowing there, next to strange diagrams of DNA and neural patterns. "What is this?" he whispered. The beast laughed. "The truth," it said. "You were made to be me. You just forgot." Ryan shook his head, stepping back. "No. That's not possible." The Varnock leaned forward, eyes burning brighter. "Oh, but it is. You are the next evolution, fear made flesh." Ryan's mind spun, memories flashing, flashes of a lab, metal tables, voices shouting commands, pain in his veins, bright lights. It all came rushing back in fragments. "They experimented on me," he muttered. The Varnock nodded. "We were both made in the same cage. You escaped with their lies. I escaped with the truth." It took another step forward. "So tell me, human, do you fear what you are?" Ryan met its gaze, steady and cold. "No," he said. "But you should." He reached for the plasma cutter on his belt and ignited it, blue flame lighting his face. The beast roared, the ground trembling under its fury. Ryan's voice was calm, even as his body burned with anger. "You think fear makes you strong? Let's find out what happens when it hunts you instead." The ruins shook as the two predators faced each other in the glowing mist. The hunt was no longer about survival, it was about truth. Ryan stood frozen, staring at the glowing symbols carved into the alien stone. His name burned on the wall, flickering beside the word Subject 7. Everything he thought he knew about himself began to collapse. Memories that didn't belong to him flickered inside his head. Metal rooms, glass tubes, scientists in white coats speaking words he couldn't remember but somehow understood. He saw flashes of pain, injections, lights too bright to be real. He saw the Varnock chained, roaring, and himself standing across from it, calm, watching, like a mirror staring back. Arya's weak voice broke through his thoughts. "Ryan, what does it mean?" He turned toward her slowly, his face pale, eyes dark. "It means I was part of the same experiment that made this thing." The words felt heavy as he spoke them. "They created it from human DNA, maybe mine. Maybe I was their control subject." Arya shook her head, trying to understand. "But you're human." You bleed, you feel, do I? Ryan interrupted, touching the side of his head. If I was built to be something else, then what am I really feeling now? The Varnock stood across the room, silent, almost calm. It watched him with a strange look, not hunger, but curiosity. Now you see, it said quietly. You and I were born from the same fear. They wanted to create the perfect predator. They took your courage, your instincts, your strength, and gave me everything you refused to be. Ryan clenched his fists. You're lying. The Varnock stepped closer. Am I? Think, Ryan. Why do you never fear? Why does your mind stay calm when death stands in front of you? Because they made you that way. You were the human they designed to hunt fear itself. Arya's eyes widened as the truth settled like a weight between them. Ryan wanted to deny it, to believe he was still just a man who got lost on the wrong planet, but deep down, the pieces fit too perfectly. His lack of fear, his reflexes, his strange connection to the beast, it all made sense now. He turned toward the glowing console, looking at the alien technology that now seemed more familiar than strange. They made you to feed on fear, he said slowly. But they made me to stop you. The Varnock tilted its head. No, they made you to replace me. You were their evolution. I was their failure. Ryan shook his head, anger building in his chest. No. You were their monster. I was their mistake. The beast's growl rumbled through the ruins, shaking the stones. You still don't understand. They didn't create fear. They unleashed it. You can't destroy what you are. Ryan ignored the words and knelt beside the console. The symbols shifted under his touch, responding to him like they recognized his presence. Arya stepped closer, whispering, "What are you doing?" "Ending this," he said. "If this lab still has power, then it must have a self-destruct system." He scrolled through the strange holographic text until he found something familiar, a sequence of numbers, a command line that flashed red when he touched it. Core detonation code confirmed, a mechanical voice said in the old human language. Warning, countdown initiated. 5 minutes to overload. The ruins began to tremble. Arya gasped. "Ryan, are you insane? You'll kill us all." "Better dead than test subjects," he said. The Varnock roared, its eyes blazing red. "You think you can destroy me with their tools? I am beyond them." It lunged forward, and Ryan rolled to the side, grabbing a fallen metal rod. He swung it with precision, striking the creature's leg. Sparks flew, but the Varnock barely flinched. It backhanded him across the room, slamming him into a wall. Ryan coughed blood, his ribs aching, but he stood up again. The beast charged, claws slashing through the air. Ryan ducked under one strike, then stabbed upward with the rod, driving it into the soft joint of its armor. The Varnock roared in pain. "You can't kill me," it growled. Ryan glared back. "Maybe not. But I can end you." He grabbed the plasma cutter from his belt and jammed it into the wound, pressing the trigger. Blue fire erupted, burning through metal and flesh. The Varnock screamed, throwing him off, the sound echoing across the ruins like thunder. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Ryan landed hard, gasping, but didn't stop. "Arya, the exit," he shouted. She nodded, running toward the tunnel that led out of the chamber. The countdown voice echoed again, 3 minutes to detonation. The Varnock stumbled but didn't fall. Its body shifted, the armor healing itself, glowing veins pulsing brighter. "You think you're free from fear," it said, voice trembling with fury. "But you're wrong. You fear what you'll become." It lunged again, slamming Ryan into the console. The impact broke the screen, sparks flying everywhere. The Varnock pinned him down with one massive hand, its claws pressing against his chest. "I am your reflection," it whispered. "Without me, you don't exist." Ryan gritted his teeth, forcing a smile through the pain. "Then let's disappear together." He pressed a button on his wrist communicator, a command linked to the damaged power cell they had used earlier as a trap. It still pulsed faintly on the ground nearby. The explosion was small but powerful enough to throw them apart. The Varnock hit the wall, roaring, smoke rising from its body. Ryan crawled toward Arya, who was struggling to stand. "Come on," he shouted. They ran through the tunnel, the floor trembling beneath them. Behind them, the Varnock's voice echoed, distorted and furious. "You can't kill fear, Ryan. It always returns." The countdown reached 2 minutes. Rocks began falling from the ceiling, flames bursting from the cracks in the ground. They reached the end of the tunnel, but the exit was blocked by debris. Arya grabbed a metal bar and tried to move it, but it wouldn't budge. "Ryan, help!" she yelled. He grabbed the plasma cutter and sliced through the blockage, the heat melting the metal enough to squeeze through. As they crawled out into the open, the jungle was burning. Flames spread through the glowing trees, sending blue sparks into the sky. The ground vibrated with the approaching explosion. Ryan looked back at the ruins one last time. Through the fire and smoke, he saw the silhouette of the Varnock standing in the doorway, its eyes blazing. It raised one claw and pointed at him. "We are the same," it said. Ryan didn't answer. He grabbed Arya's hand and ran as the entire ground beneath them erupted. A wave of fire exploded into the sky, consuming everything in its path. The shockwave threw them into the dirt. For a few seconds, the world was only light and sound. Then came silence. Ryan lay on his back, staring up at the black smoke curling into the alien sky. His chest burned, his vision blurred, but he was alive. Beside him, Arya coughed and sat up. "Did we kill it?" she asked weakly. Ryan looked toward the glowing ruins now buried under fire and rubble. "I don't know," he said. "But I think it's not that easy." He could still hear its voice in his mind, whispering faintly, "You can't kill fear." Ryan clenched his fist, his eyes cold. "Then I'll hunt it until it dies," he murmured. Somewhere beneath the burning earth, something moved. The hunt wasn't over. It had only changed. The sky above was a strange mix of red and silver, the air thick with smoke and static. Ryan and Arya stumbled through the ruins of the jungle, their bodies covered in ash and burns. Every step felt heavier than the last. The explosion had wiped out most of the forest, leaving only blackened trees and scorched earth. The air smelled of burnt ozone and death. Ryan looked back, his eyes scanning the smoldering crater where the alien structure once stood. The ground still glowed faintly, as if something inside refused to die. "It should have been enough," Arya whispered, her voice barely audible. Ryan didn't answer. His chest was tight, not from the smoke but from something deeper, a feeling he couldn't name. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. Something inside him felt awake, like a door had been opened and could never be closed again. He touched the side of his head, and for a moment, his vision flickered, data, symbols, and flashes of alien code pulsing across his eyes. He stumbled forward, shaking his head. "Ryan, are you okay?" Arya asked, grabbing his arm. He nodded slowly. "Yeah. I don't know. I feel different." She frowned. "Different how?" He looked at her, and his pupils glowed faintly blue. "Like I can hear it." Arya froze. "Hear what?" Ryan turned toward the crater. The ground trembled faintly beneath their feet. "The beast. It's still alive." The words hung in the air like a curse. A low rumble echoed from the distance, not loud but deep, like the earth itself was growling. Arya took a step back. "That's impossible. The explosion destroyed everything." Ryan's voice was calm, too calm. "No. It didn't destroy it. It woke it up." He knelt down and touched the dirt. The ground pulsed faintly under his hand, like a heartbeat. His eyes widened. "It's spreading." He stood up quickly, turning to Arya. "We have to move. Now." They ran through the burning forest, the sound of cracking trees following them. Ash rained from the sky, coating their hair and skin. Every few seconds, Ryan glanced back, and each time, the glow behind them seemed stronger. It wasn't just the ruins anymore, something was growing out of them, crawling into the land like veins of fire. They reached a ridge overlooking the valley. From there, they saw it, massive black tendrils pushing through the earth, glowing red from within. The jungle itself was changing. Trees twisted into strange shapes, leaves turned metallic, and the ground split open as if something beneath was breathing. "It's rebuilding itself," Arya said in horror. Ryan's jaw tightened. "No. It's rebuilding us." He looked down at his hands. The skin was faintly luminescent, like his veins carried liquid light. I think the experiment wasn't just in the lab. It was in the planet. Arya shook her head. That's insane. Ryan pointed toward the spreading corruption. This isn't nature. It's a network, alive, intelligent. The Varnock wasn't just an organism. It was part of a system. The planet itself is the experiment. Arya stared at him, realization dawning in her eyes. So the explosion activated it, Ryan finished grimly. The rumble grew louder. Suddenly, the ridge beneath them cracked. Ryan grabbed Arya and pulled her back as a fissure split open, releasing a blinding light. From the depths, a massive structure began to rise, not a creature this time, but a machine made of bone and metal, pulsing with energy. Its form was unclear, shifting between organic and artificial, like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. The voice that emerged from it was deep and resonant, vibrating through the air. Subject 7. Protocol incomplete. Integration required. Ryan's blood went cold. Integration. What does that mean? The voice repeated, Subject 7, reunite with core. The machine turned toward him, its many eyes glowing red. Arya grabbed his arm. Ryan, it's calling you. You have to run. But Ryan didn't move. He could feel the pull in his chest, a magnetic force drawing him closer. It's connected to me, he whispered. If I run, it'll follow. The machine began to extend its limbs, tearing through the rock. Ryan looked at Arya, his expression hard. You need to get to the shipwreck. There's a transmitter core still intact. Use it to send a signal. Arya shook her head. No, I'm not leaving you. You have to, he said firmly. If this thing spreads beyond the planet, it won't just end us, it'll end everything. She hesitated, tears in her eyes. Promise me you'll come back. He smiled faintly. I'll try. She ran toward the wreckage, her figure disappearing through the smoke. Ryan turned back to face the rising machine. His body felt heavy, his heartbeat sinking with the pulsing ground. He could hear whispers in his mind, fragments of voices, data, memories not his own. Join. Complete. Evolve. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. You want integration, he said quietly. Then let's finish what you started. The ground split beneath him, and tendrils of light wrapped around his legs, pulling him closer. He didn't resist. Pain surged through his body as the machine's energy entered him, rewriting his cells. His mind filled with flashes of creation, humans in lab coats, DNA strands glowing in fluid, the Varnock roaring inside a containment field. He saw himself strapped to a table, the same scientists watching with awe. He feels no fear, one of them said. He adapts faster than any subject. Another voice replied, then he's perfect. Begin the final merge. Ryan screamed as the memories crashed into reality. His skin burned, his blood felt like fire, but his mind stayed clear. He saw the machine trying to take control, trying to erase him, but he fought back. You don't own me, he shouted, his voice echoing across the valley. Blue energy burst from his chest, cutting through the tendrils. The machine recoiled, pieces of it shattering. Inconsistent data, it hissed. Fear response missing. Integration failing. Ryan grinned through the pain. That's right. You built me without fear. That's your mistake. He raised his hand, and the energy around him grew stronger, the blue light expanding until it filled the air. The machine tried to strike him, but the blast hit first, a shockwave of pure energy that ripped through the valley, burning everything it touched. The tendrils turned to ash, the ground cracked, and the sky itself seemed to scream. When the light faded, Ryan fell to his knees, breathing hard. The machine was gone, reduced to smoking fragments. He looked down at his hands, they were still glowing faintly, but the light was fading. The connection was broken. Behind him, Arya appeared, coughing from the smoke. Ryan, she shouted, running toward him. She helped him stand, her eyes wide. What happened? He looked around at the ruined landscape. It tried to take me. I stopped it. Are you, still you? She asked softly. Ryan looked at her, then at the glowing horizon. I don't know, he said honestly. The planet was silent now, but deep underground, something pulsed once, faint, like a dying heartbeat refusing to stop. Ryan felt it and whispered, "It's not over." Arya frowned. "What?" He turned toward the distant mountains. "There's still a core signal. The real one. This was just a fragment." He tightened his grip on his weapon and began walking. The wind howled behind him, carrying the faint echo of a familiar growl. The beast wasn't dead. It was waiting. And this time, it was inside him. The wind howled across the dead valley, carrying the smell of burnt metal and ash. The world around Ryan and Arya had changed. The sky was darker now, tinted with shades of purple and red, and the ground pulsed faintly like it was breathing. The explosion and the machine's destruction had ended one nightmare, but awakened another. As they walked toward the distant mountains, the horizon shimmered with strange lights, like a storm trapped under the surface. Ryan's steps were slow, but deliberate. Each time his boots hit the ground, he could feel the planet's rhythm echo through his bones. He wasn't just walking on this world anymore, he was connected to it. Arya walked beside him, exhausted, her eyes scanning the wasteland for movement. "How far do you think the core is?" she asked. Ryan didn't answer immediately. He was listening. Deep inside, beyond the noise of the wind, he could hear a low hum, steady, alive. "Not far," he said finally. "It's calling me." Arya frowned. "Calling you? Ryan, that's not good." He turned his head slightly, his eyes glowing faintly blue in the dim light. "It doesn't matter. If I can hear it, I can find it. And if I can find it, I can end this." They reached the edge of a canyon, its depths lost in darkness. Lightning flashed somewhere below, revealing enormous structures buried beneath the surface. Towers, cables, and massive conduits glowing with alien energy. Arya stared in awe. "This isn't just a planet," she whispered. "It's a machine." Ryan nodded. "The core isn't just alive. It's the heart of whatever built this place." He looked down, his expression grim. "And it's waking up." Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. Rocks broke loose and fell into the canyon. A deep voice echoed faintly from below, metallic and distorted. "Subject 7, anomaly detected." Arya gasped. "That's the same voice from the ruins." Ryan's jaw tightened. "It's not a voice. It's the core itself." He knelt and looked down the canyon. "We're going in." Arya's eyes widened. "Ryan, you can't be serious. There's no way down." He didn't reply. Instead, he stepped back, took a deep breath, and jumped. Arya screamed as he vanished into the darkness. A second later, she saw faint blue light below. He had landed, alive. "Come on," he shouted. Reluctantly, she followed, using a broken metal cable to slide down. When she hit the ground, the air felt different, heavier, full of static. The walls around them were smooth metal, etched with glowing veins that pulsed like arteries. "It's alive," Arya whispered. "Everything here is alive." Ryan nodded slowly. "It's not a planet. It's a vessel." They began walking through a tunnel that led deeper into the core structure. As they moved, the walls shifted slightly, like they were reacting to their presence. The voice came again, louder now, echoing through the metal. "Subject 7, containment protocol active." The tunnel ahead sealed shut, trapping them inside. Ryan stepped forward. "I'm not your subject anymore." The lights on the walls flared red. "Correction, Subject 7 corrupted. Initiating purge." Before they could react, robotic constructs emerged from the walls, tall, skeletal machines with glowing red eyes and blades for arms. Arya raised her plasma pistol, firing bursts of blue energy. The shots hit the machines, but they barely slowed down. Ryan grabbed a broken pipe from the floor and charged. His movements were faster than human, too fast. He swung the pipe with such force that it cracked one of the machine's skulls in half. The others attacked in unison, slashing and stabbing. Ryan ducked under one strike, caught another by the arm, and drove the pipe straight through its chest. Sparks flew, and the machine collapsed. Arya shot two more, but one reached her and knocked her down. Before it could strike, Ryan grabbed it by the neck and ripped it apart. The fight was over in seconds. Arya looked at him in shock. Ryan, what are you? He was breathing heavily, but his eyes were calm. I don't know. But whatever they made me, I'm using it. The lights flickered again, and the voice spoke. Fear response remains absent. Integration failure persists. Ryan smirked. Get used to it. The tunnel opened again, revealing a massive chamber ahead. It was the heart of the planet, a colossal sphere of light suspended in midair, surrounded by energy conduits that stretched for miles. The core. Ryan and Arya stepped inside, awestruck by the sight. The light pulsed in slow, rhythmic waves, and with each pulse, Ryan felt his heartbeat sync with it. This is it, he said quietly. The source. Arya looked around nervously. What's the plan? He walked forward, his voice steady. I end it from within. Arya grabbed his arm. Wait. You said the core is alive. What if it's trying to merge with you again? Ryan turned to her, his expression softening. Then I'll make sure it doesn't. She shook her head. You can't fight it alone. I don't have a choice, he said. It's connected to me. It always has been. He took another step forward, the light of the core bathing his face in blue. If I destroy it, maybe everything it created, the Varnock, the machines, this planet, dies with it. Arya's eyes filled with fear. And what about you? Ryan looked at the core, his reflection flickering on its surface. If I'm part of it, then I go with it. Before she could stop him, he placed his hand on the core. The moment his skin touched it, the world exploded into light. Ryan was no longer standing in the chamber. He was inside the core, a world of endless white and shadow, filled with echoes of memories that weren't his. He saw the scientists again, the first experiments, the creation of the Varnock. He saw himself inside a containment pod, his eyes closed, while machines whispered above him. Then he saw something new, an image of the Varnock standing beside a man who looked exactly like him. Two halves of the same whole, a voice said. Ryan turned and saw the Varnock in front of him, no longer monstrous but almost human in shape. We were never enemies, it said. We were designed to complete each other, fear and strength, predator and prey. Ryan shook his head. No. I'm not part of you. The Varnock smiled faintly. You already are. That's why you can hear the core. You're not fighting it, Ryan. You're becoming it. Ryan felt the pull again, stronger than before, dragging him toward the light. He tried to resist, but his strength was fading. You can't fight what you are, the Varnock whispered. Accept it, and the pain will end. Ryan's voice was low but fierce. I don't want peace. I want freedom. He focused, drawing on every memory, every emotion he still had, the crash, the fight, Arya's voice, the fire, the screams. The core flickered violently, reacting to his defiance. Emotion conflict detected, the voice said, distorting. Ryan shouted, you wanted to erase fear. But fear is what makes us human. He reached deep inside himself, pulling the blue energy from his chest. It exploded outward, slamming into the core. The light shattered. The Varnock screamed as its form disintegrated into fragments of shadow. The world around Ryan began to collapse, the core breaking apart piece by piece. Arya watched from outside as the chamber filled with blinding light. Ryan, she screamed. The entire structure began to crumble. She backed away, shielding her eyes. The light grew so bright it swallowed everything, then vanished. Silence. Smoke rose from the crater where the core had been. Arya coughed, calling out again, Ryan, where are you? No answer. The mountains loomed in the distance like jagged teeth biting into the dark sky. Red lightning cracked across the clouds, illuminating the alien landscape below. Ryan and Arya stood on the ridge, their faces lit by the faint glow pulsing from deep beneath the earth. The core had moved, not destroyed, not dormant, but reborn. The ground beneath their boots vibrated with a steady rhythm, like a colossal heartbeat. Ryan's silver eyes reflected the glow as he stared into the horizon. It's shifting, he said quietly. It's not just alive anymore. It's evolving. Arya looked at him, her voice trembling. Evolving into what? Ryan's expression was grim. Into something it was always meant to be, Something that doesn't just control fear, but becomes it. The wind howled around them, cold and sharp. They had come too far to turn back now. Ryan adjusted his gear and started down the slope. "We finish this tonight," he said. Arya followed, her steps cautious but determined. The closer they got to the mountains, the more unnatural the world became. The ground was covered in metallic vines that pulsed with red veins of energy. The air shimmered with static, and the clouds above swirled like a living storm. Strange whispers echoed around them, faint but constant, voices speaking in tones neither human nor machine. Ryan tried to block them out, but some slipped through, whispering his name, showing flashes of memory that weren't real. "It's trying to distract you," Arya said, noticing his distant look. "Stay focused." Ryan nodded. "It's learning faster than before." When they reached the base of the mountain, they saw it, a massive fissure glowing from within, leading down into the planet's core. Heat and light poured out, distorting the air. Ryan stared into the abyss and whispered, "This is where it's hiding." Without hesitation, he jumped down. Arya cursed and followed. The descent felt endless. The walls of the chasm shifted like they were breathing, covered in glowing lines that pulsed with the rhythm of the core's energy. When they finally landed, they found themselves in a vast underground cavern. At its center stood a massive sphere of molten light suspended by chains of energy, pulsating with life. Around it, dozens of mechanical constructs floated, working like drones repairing their master. The core had taken physical form, half organic, half machine, with veins of glowing metal twisting around a pulsing heart of light. Ryan felt his pulse sync with it, the connection returning stronger than ever. "It's aware of us," he said. The drones turned, their eyes glowing red, and a voice echoed through the cavern. "Subject 7, persistence illogical. Termination required." The drones swarmed. Ryan moved before Arya could react. He grabbed a piece of broken machinery and swung it like a weapon, shattering one drone with a single strike. Arya fired her plasma pistol, hitting another, its body exploding in a burst of blue light. The cavern filled with flashes of energy and flying debris. The core pulsed faster, the floor trembling beneath them. "You can't stop what was born from you," the voice boomed. Ryan ducked under a laser blast and shouted back, "You made a mistake, you made me human." He leapt onto a ledge and ripped a metal spear from the wall. His body glowed faintly, energy flowing through his veins like liquid lightning. The drones came again, but this time he moved faster than before, striking with precision and force, tearing through them one by one. Sparks rained down as machines fell in pieces around him. Arya covered his flank, reloading as quickly as she could. "We can't hold them off forever," she shouted. Ryan looked toward the core. "We won't need to." He sprinted toward the center, dodging beams of light and explosions. As he got closer, the energy from the core hit him like a wall, nearly knocking him down. The voice grew louder, layered with emotion now, anger, fear, desperation. "You are incomplete, Subject 7. Without me, you cease to exist." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Then let's find out." He plunged his hand into the surface of the core. Pain exploded through his body. His mind filled with memories, every face he'd seen, every scream, every battle, every death. He saw the scientists again, saw the moment they created the Varnock, saw their fear as their creation turned on them. He saw himself, standing over the wreckage of the first experiment, refusing to feel fear, refusing to obey. The core's voice trembled. "We were meant to be one." Ryan shouted through the pain, "I was never meant to be your weapon." Energy burst from his body, blue clashing against red in a violent storm. Arya shielded her eyes as the entire cavern shook. The chains holding the core snapped one by one, releasing waves of raw power. "Ryan!" she screamed. He turned his head slightly, eyes glowing bright white now. "Get out!" "Not without you," she yelled back. "Now, Arya!" His voice was filled with something she hadn't heard before, fear, but not for himself. She hesitated, tears welling in her eyes, then turned and ran toward the exit tunnel. Behind her, the cavern roared like a living beast. Ryan faced the core, which had begun to take form, a massive humanoid figure made of molten metal and light, the embodiment of everything the experiment had become. "You are the beast," the voice said through the creature. "You are me." Ryan raised his weapon, his voice calm but steady. "No. I'm the one who kills you." The creature charged, shaking the ground. Ryan met it head-on, striking with all his strength. The impact sent shockwaves through the cavern, cracking the walls. They clashed again and again, light against shadow, creation against rebellion. Each strike echoed like thunder. The core tried to consume him, its energy wrapping around him, but Ryan fought harder, burning brighter. "You can't destroy fear," it screamed. "Maybe not," he said, pushing forward, "but I can stop it from spreading." He drove his blade into the core's chest. For a moment, everything went still. Then the world erupted. A wave of blue and red light filled the cavern, tearing everything apart. On the surface, Arya stumbled out of the fissure just as the mountains began to collapse behind her. The ground cracked, releasing pillars of light that reached into the sky. She fell to her knees, watching in horror and awe as the entire mountain range imploded. The explosion was silent, a burst of color and light, and then nothing. Only ashes falling like snow. She waited, hoping to see a sign of him. Minutes passed. Then, through the smoke, a figure emerged, walking slowly, glowing faintly blue. It was Ryan. He was burned, bleeding, but alive. She ran to him and caught him before he fell. "You did it," she whispered. "You stopped it." He looked up at the sky, where the red light had faded to gray. "For now," he said quietly. "But it's not gone. Fear never dies." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "Then what happens now?" He stood slowly, staring at the horizon. "Now, we make sure it never wakes again." Behind them, the planet began to settle. The wind carried away the last traces of ash, and the sky slowly cleared, revealing stars for the first time since the crash. But deep beneath the surface, in the ruins of the core, a faint red spark flickered, weak but alive. A whisper echoed through the dark, faint but certain. "We are never truly gone." Ryan turned his head slightly, as if he heard it. He exhaled, his expression unreadable. "Then the hunt continues," he murmured. Arya looked at him, her voice soft but strong. "Together."